Hungary lies at the intersection of European cultures and has a rich musical heritage. The collecting of folk songs started here in the early 19th century. The Hungarian linguist and folk music collector Béla Vikár was the first in Europe to record folk songs on a phonograph in 1895. In the early 1900s, Béla Bartók and Zoltán Kodály launched a comprehensive program to collect and study folk music in all Hungarian-speaking areas. The Kodály method of teaching the musical vernacular as part of school education is now recognised and practised all over the world and is included in UNESCO's Register of Best Safeguarding Practices. The more than 200,000 digitally accessible folk song scores in Hungarian musical collections are a basic resource for traditional music movements and for teaching folk music at all levels, from primary schools to universities. The Association of Hungarian Choirs, Orchestras and Folk Ensembles, known by its Hungarian acronym Kóta, a member of the European Choral Association, is 50 years old this year. It's almost the same age as the television contest Fly Peacock, which has been running since 1969. That programme brought the country's finest folk music performers to a wider audience, thereby launching the folk music movement. Lajos Vas, one of the founders of the association and then head of the Arts Commission, got the whole country singing in front of the television screen. The Peacock movement worked its magic, and a huge number of folk choirs, peacock circles, zither bands and folk dance bands discovered what Bartók called the pure spring. The encounter with tradition attracted hundreds of thousands of young people to the music vernacular of their country. The Kóta Folk Music Committee, chaired since 1978 by the folk music researcher, instrumental soloist and vice president of Kóta, József Birinyi, coordinates folk music centres, ensembles, soloists, teachers, instrument makers and ensemble leaders, and arranges their qualifications and training. Traditions live on with new functions and are disseminated to a wide public. They have the power to maintain the continuity of musical culture through experience-based learning and knowledge transfer. The Kóta Golden Peacock accreditations and gala performances are held at regional and national levels for performers of all ages. They've been helping folk soloists, singers, choirs and bands since 1973. In the most recent cycle, 1,251 ensembles and soloists were accredited. The 30 winners of the Golden Peacock Prize stand at the top of the folk music pyramid, performing at the highest level. They are heralds and ambassadors of the regenerating folk music culture of the Carpathian Basin. In 1978, Kóta was the first organisation to hold training for leaders of folk music ensembles and choirs, and it's been doing so ever since. In 2020, the 825th folk ensemble leader passed the qualifying examination. The courses provide classroom and practical training in musical theory, folk music, ethnography, education, art management and stage skills. Kodály famously said that music should be for everybody. That's what Kóta and its folk music section is working for, through music education, training, accreditation and contests. It also holds festivals and concerts and communicates the folk music experience through television and radio. Since 1985, Kóta has co-organised the folk music and folk dance camp in Tutorás for talented musicians and dancers. It's a family-friendly camp that covers the entire age range and all kinds of folk music and folk art. It is also the longest-running event to which people from all over the world come to get a live experience of Hungarian folk music. At folk music competitions and television talent shows over the last 10 years, most of the winners have been musicians who were mentored and nurtured by Kóta and the Tutorás camp. When Béla Bartók collected an old pentatonic tune early in the 20th century, he could hardly have imagined a young girl singing it so beautifully 100 years later. In Hungary, lying in the heart of Europe, there's increasing interest in this flourishing tradition, a musical legacy that enriches the universal culture of humankind. Gustav Mahler, who had a great fondness for the Hungarian musical tradition, once said, "Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of fire." And Zoltán Kodály warned us that the fire must not go out. We've heeded their words, and nowadays the flame is burning brightly. As the chairman of the Kóta Folk Music Committee, József Birényi, puts it, the experience of our heritage today is the foundation of our future. Kóta is an umbrella organisation that brings together people active in many different forms of music to promote these musical endeavours in the country of Bartók and Kodály and add to their richness, as we have been doing for half a century, is a cause worth pursuing.